can take freedom from a cold dead hands. We're locked in low for the last dance. 'Cause we're the new American gangsters, ready to die for this land.
Consistent with my real gender.
Ready to die for this land.
Welcome to the Patriot Punkcast. I am your host, Chase Matheson, and tonight we are going to be discussing Trump's potential vice presidential candidate, Marsha Blackburn. What do you guys think? Should we be giving one of our senators off to the executive branch of government to chime in as VP? We're going to cover that story, and we're also going to touch base on the Phil Williams, Shawn Taylor drama. Now, I know we spent all of last week's episode on it, so if you haven't checked that out, please go back and watch last week's episode, Can We Red Pill Phil? And you will hear that there is a little bit more to some of the accusations Shawn is lobbing than it seems Phil wants to address. Plus, tonight, we're also going to talk about Title IX going into effect on August the 1st, and there's some good news. Tennessee has changed its inappropriate materials guideline for public school libraries, and we are going to have a special guest on to discuss that with us. Plus, if you live in the Putnam County, Cookeville area, you may have heard about a standoff that happened yesterday, it was yesterday. And turns out that Sheriff Eddie Ferris got to go in and play the hero. Who the suspect is might surprise you, and some of their connections to our other stories might also surprise you. Joining me in this endeavor is my good friend and co-host, Daniel Wagner.
Well, hey, what's up, man?
How are you?
It's been like a week since we talked last, I think.
I know. It was
like forever.
I spent the weekend in the boonies celebrating a deplorable's birthday. And it's been inundated with a little bit of news over the last few weeks, trying to keep up with everything, file records request, and you're going to have to come down to Tullahoma and hang out again sometime.
Yeah, you are not kidding. The amount of news we've been bludgeoned with over the last week. I've been trying to keep up with stuff, but I still have to make a living at some point.
Yes, exactly. And as much as we love this, it does not exactly pay the bills. So, but it is our civic duty to stand up for our communities and to give people a voice, because right now, as you can tell, our voice is being completely shuttered. Now, our special guest this evening, before we get taking care of business, I want to go ahead and bring her on. We have a Miss Sheri Super.
Hey guys, how's everybody tonight?
We are fantastic. I don't know about Daniel. I think he still has to go to work later, but
Daniel, no, Colin's sick.
Yeah.
Nobody will tell him. Nobody will tell him you're full of baloney.
Can you imagine?
Just me and you and Chase know.
I work for myself. Can you imagine me calling myself to call myself in sick? I would do it. I'll do it.
My boss doesn't buy my excuses either. So,
oh my goodness, guys. Yeah, I heard you guys when I was backstage talking about the news. I mean, first of all the stuff that's been happening on the big stage, and then the stuff that I've heard about Putnam County. Like, what the heck is going on in Tennessee?
It's all I can say is, and I don't know because I don't have the proof that we're tied up in the middle of something big, but there's a lot of smoke, and I do want to find out where the fire is. So we appreciate you joining us. I look forward to getting your update on some of the inappropriate materials stuff. But before we get started, I do want to take care of just a little bit of business. Okay. So if you would, first, thank you for watching this program. Thank you for listening to us. If you're enjoying it on Spotify or one of the podcasting stations, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and even super chat if you want to, because we need your support. We are entirely self-funded. So we don't have corporate donors. We don't run all these commercials and try to just advertise and sell to you all day. We want to bring you information that you need to hear and hopefully find somewhat interesting. So if you want to support us, sharing this, texting it out to your friends is really one of the best ways. It's the best way to get word out about the show is to tell other people about it, show them a little clip, screen record a bit, do something. If we provide the value for you, you can also check out patriotpunknetwork.com. There you will find all sorts of entertainment and information. We've got news stories, videos, and even a couple of exposés that you can link through to there. And you can always check out the latest episodes of the Patriot Punkcast on the Patriot Punkcast tab. If you are experiencing corruption in your area, email us at tips@patriotpunknetwork.com. A lot of people just think that maybe we have a crystal ball and we look into the information that way, but we actually have to get tips to submit open records request. We have a massive open record request we're about to submit regarding the death of a 15-year-old who was raped and murdered at the hands of an informant. And we suspect that the cost for that open record request could very easily exceed $500. So if you would, while you're over there checking out some of the videos and exposés, click on the support tab and consider giving us a one-time contribution to help with this open record request or becoming a monthly member. Here, probably into the summer, late in the summer, we're going to do something special for our members, create something where it gives a little bit of benefit. But first, we've got to make it self-sustaining. Because as much as I love y'all, I can't afford to feed more mouths than my own. So lastly, or second to last, I've also relaunched my Kirby business. And if you're fed up with plastic cleaners that don't last and they don't work, they stink, they smell bad, upgrade to the world's best. It's been made in America for over 100 years. You can clean your carpets, you can clean your rugs, your couches, your hard floors, and then you can turn around and change a light bulb, wash your windows, or unclog a drain. They've only ever been advertised basically through in-home presentations, and the world's best quality is brought to you by someone who's willing to bring it to your house and show you how it would work. So if you enjoy watching me clean up your community, you're going to enjoy having the cleanest home in the community. Reach out, schedule your presentation today, hit me up on Facebook or email me until I can get a website launched. And then lastly, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you're only going to see the first part of the show. So make sure you go over to X or Rumble, search for the Patriot Punkcast or at Patriot Punk Network, and you will find us. And be sure to give us a follow on one of those platforms. That's where the spicy material is at. So now that all that's out of the way, Sheri, we have some celebrating to do.
We do. But first, can I say this? I have a Kirby.
You do.
And it is phenomenal, and I love it.
How
and
long?
I've had it 10 years, maybe.
Okay. That's so I actually sold my first Kirby. I was 14 years old, and I live in a 1-bedroom apartment with all hardwood floors, and I have 2 of them just to save me time from changing them all around. They last not forever, but pretty darn close. It's always good to find another member of the Kirby family.
Yes. So go ahead, Daniel.
I
I'm
would say
sorry.
if you guys want to have him out to your house, I fully recommend it. He came to my house and was showing me what these things can do, and it was pretty fascinating. I have not yet bought one, but I do plan on buying one from him in the not too distant future if I can.
You will find out just how filthy your carpets are when you see how this works.
Oh, he done showed me. My son was a filthy animal.
So my kids were like, "Mom, you better get it." I was like, "Yeah, I better, because I look like I live in a pig pen." But anyway, moving on to something more exciting than our Kirby.
Yes. It sucks, it blows, it vibrates. But so what are the exciting news about this inappropriate materials policy?
Under the radar, Susan Lynn, I wish I could remember where, what district or what part of
She's Middle Tennessee, out here near like the Lebanon area. I'm not 100% sure with everything, but
she under the radar, because I didn't even know about it until I emailed one of my my representative, Elaine Davis, and asked her about like, what can we do about these books? And she said, well, I think that we've already passed an amendment to the Inappropriate Materials Act. And they in fact have. And nobody knew about it, which I think is fantastic, because then we didn't have the people going down there with the pride flags and the screaming at these meetings. So do you have it in front of you? Because I mean,
Yeah.
I could probably, I'm half blind. I have my contacts in, so I can kind of see today. But they've just added some language that specifies what types of books must come out of the libraries. So I can't read it from there, but you know what? I
Well,
can do. Just
so
pull it up right. You want to
the
read it for me?
yeah,
The new.
so for
Go ahead.
purposes of this section, the material that one in whole or in part contains nudity or or descriptions or depictions of sexual excitement, sexual conduct. Can you stop highlighting it for me, Daniel? Sorry, it makes it harder to read for me. My bad eyes are bad enough.
I'm not worried about you. I want
Yeah.
the audience to see it, man. But
Yeah.
I got you. Go ahead.
Sexual conduct, excess violence, or sadomasochistic abuse, I think. As
Sadomasochistic.
sadomas, sorry, it's long word, kind of blurry. So
All good.
there you go. Oh wow, okay. As those terms are defined in TCA 3917-901, it is not appropriate for the age or maturity level of a student in any of the grades, kindergarten through 12, and must not be maintained in a school's library collection. Is that the only new part, or?
I think the next section, if
Okay.
it's patently offensive as defined in 3917-901, or appeals to the prurient interest. Right.
Yep. As defined in 901, is not appropriate for the age or maturity level of any grades and should not be maintained. Each school operated by. Okay, so that's the new section.
That's the new section. Yep.
So before, first off, is this going to prevent like a biology textbook that has nudity in it?
No, it won't. It has to. I mean, that's educational. And that was the problem with the before they amended it, is that they had an exception for education, which meant to everybody involved that if it was in the school, it must be educational, which this clearly is not. So no medical books or, National Geographic or whatever, that's probably going to stay, which is fine. That makes sense.
Yeah. And they probably started looking at it under the angle that, literarily speaking, you can, oh, there we go. What did I do there? Oh. Literarily speaking,
I got you,
you can use it for expressing. Oh well, this is good. This has good.
It's artistic, and you have to take it as the whole book.
Yes, yeah. Or here's a good example of a protagonist suffering with something, and they can use it as an issue to. Oh well, there's educational material in how I interpret it. Have this hit any news lately? Like, is the Tennessee Holler outraged about this? Is anybody?
No, I don't really think anybody knows. I sent it, of course, to the superintendent, the law director, and all of the school board members, so they know. And but I've not heard a peep about it anywhere, which is interesting.
It's wild to me how some of these things just go completely under the radar. It doesn't. Nobody even bats an eye at it, and all of a sudden it's a thing. It's a law. It's a new policy. But other things, you word things in just the right amount of way, and somebody wants to put a spin on it. Next thing you know, it's made national news, and everybody's in a freaking uproar over it.
It's not about what you know; it's about who you know, and the amount of like backhanded PR and we're an advertiser, so that means that we get X amount of interview time on your station, and we're going to use that interview time to completely. Sorry, my cat's trying to get on the show. We're going to use that airtime to propagandize everybody. And that's a big issue that I think we're dealing with right now is you've got like professional propagandists planning and managing these social media accounts and these newsrooms, both all providing cover for one another. So when does this go into effect?
It'll go into effect July 1st. So right before the new school year, some of these books will be out. Our school board, one of the members is presenting a new policy as well, talking about sexual, activity or nudity in the policy, which is good. I'm glad that they're taking some kind of a step, because we've been talking about this since last October, and this is the first movement we've had. But
Mhm.
the Tennessee state law being amended will do the heavy lifting for them. So I just can't wait to hear what the other side of the aisle says during the school board meetings. I'm sure that they're going to be all just against it.
Well, so here's what I would do if I were them. Okay. I would just say, well, you're now requiring us to catalog and do all of this stuff and to have someone go through and now check every page for depictions of new, that wasn't, you've instilled a new burden on our process. So we have to go back and check everything. You're going to have to give us more money so we can hire more people to work in the library with blue
Mhm.
hair that want to, you know,
Yeah,
and
when they were doing their review policies, they were asking for more money. We're gonna have to set up 15 different committees, and we're gonna need more money. And I was
that,
like, "Really?
that's
Really, guys?"
exactly what they're
Mhm,
going to do. I also noticed, and this is not a change in there, but there's a lot of selective wording in these bills, and it's amazing
mhm,
how much an or an and how much of an impact it can have.
mhm.
I noticed that in that same statute, you are not allowed, or it not. I don't want to say you're not allowed. It's you are not required to have an appeal board that is open to everybody, and by
Mhm.
everybody I don't even mean taxpayers, although I think it should be taxpayers. Anybody should be able to challenge the books if they know it's in there, and it's, and if it's not bad, then okay, what's the big deal? If someone tries to inundate the system, you can address that individually. But the bill later on, scroll down for me just a little bit, Daniel. I think it has to do with the forming of a board. It says that you have to have a parent at some it have to have an
Yeah, I know
ability.
exactly what you're saying. I
Yep.
think it's a parent, a student, or a staff member can make an appeal about a book.
But it says you have to have a process for this or this or
Or
this. It does not
Mhm.
say you have to have a process for all of these to do it, which is, I don't know that anyone's tried to play that card yet, but that's the first thing that I read, was that the language did not require your board to allow even all three of those
Right.
to challenge it.
And, we did have one parent put in, an appeal for a book called, it's a book series, I think there's 21 volumes. It's called Assassination Classroom, and it depicts kids. It's a science fiction book, but it depicts kids with, guns in the classrooms, and says homeroom class and how to shoot the teacher, and I don't know, I'm assuming the teacher is a science fiction character, is an alien. But I mean, is that really appropriate to have in schools when we have school shootings? And we had one in Nashville, a year ago? And so now we have books in there. And the appeal came back that there's nothing wrong with it. It's a science fiction book, and it's going to stay in the classroom, in the libraries. So, I don't even know how much these appeals actually work.
I haven't seen it, so I can't actually make a statement on that. But one of the things that I do see is, and I don't disagree with having a library for students, but why does the school library have to have anything in it other than like kids stuff? And I understand you can have like history and things, but we already have a public library that we fund and staff. And I'm not trying to take away options or anything like that. Like, I'm not mad, but it seems like that's the Trojan horse that they've given us so that they can funnel all of
Mhm.
these ALA challenged books, and then they can advertise, oh, look at our banned books. And they advertise in stories where, like, To Kill a Mockingbird is one of the banned books, or The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Listen, the only people trying to ban the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn are liberals.
That's 100% right. California, there's a district in Burbank, California, that wanted to ban To Kill a Mockingbird and Huckleberry Finn because of racism.
And I
Mhm.
think it's hilarious that the left is always, especially, and I'm going to call out Vanderbilt, because half of their graduates, if you talk to them, or half of their college kids at all these Palestine things, we're banning
Right.
books. Well, Vanderbilt literally stopped access to a social media app, Parlor, because it was too dangerous. We can't have the brightest minds in the country are too sensitive to access Parlor. I would have been offended if I was one of those liberals, but they didn't care. They thought it was a good thing.
Well,
And
not to mention that the phrase book banning, in this context, is an emotionally manipulative misnomer. Nobody's banning books. We're just restricting what our children can have access to. That's a major difference in.
you're restricting what your kids can have access to, but it's not just that. And this is where that is the easy moral argument.
Mhm.
But like in Tullahoma, we have 21,000 people and 3,600 students, and some of those come from out of district. Okay, and they pay a tuition or whatever it is. But there's more people that don't go to the school than do, and they all pay and contribute to this property taxes and things like that. Why do they not also, are they not entitled to a say, or entitled to say, hey, we don't want this kind of filth in the book? Why we don't want our taxpayer money going for it? I feel like there's a lot of programs that people could fix themselves if they just quit bitching about it. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And yeah, I mean, we've tried to get them to make it open to the public. If you have kids that are that have been in the schools or are school age children, but maybe don't attend, but you're a taxpayer, you could have a say. They always tell us, well, we have to make it the closest to the student. And that's just a way of getting around it. They just don't want a lot of people giving them any kind of pushback. So they limit it to the very least, what parent, what student, and what staff member are going to risk getting blowback by filing an appeal. No, nobody has. There was one that I know of the entire time that this has been a policy at the school in the school district. So
well, and
that's how they do it.
so one of the things that I find very odd and similar to this is with the Open Records Act. Okay,
Right.
so if you are found to be part of an organized group submitting records, and they can treat that entire group's record request as one person and limit them to so many per month before it becomes harassment. And to be fair, I think the reason that started is because somebody was filing like 30 a day with the same department,
Yeah.
just trying to and that case specific makes sense until you find out that there are companies that allow people to submit these requests somewhat anonymously. And when you think about it, I know for a fact that when you start asking for records, your names, you start getting looked up on the internet. Okay. I know for a fact because my mayor, prior to his passing, did the same thing. And it's one of those, the retaliation fear is plausible. It's not, I'm not saying you will be retaliated against because you asked for your school's budget, but the perception that you will be.
Oh, yeah.
How do you hear that from a lot of parents? They don't want the, I don't.
Oh, I mean, anytime that you share any of these things with parents, they are just appalled and they cannot believe this is happening. First, they can't believe that this is something that's happening in Knox County. But then they
Well,
don't come to the meetings. They don't want to come and speak. They don't want to show up at the school boards because
do
they
you,
are afraid of being attached to the Moms for Liberty or some political thing or getting, blowback on Facebook, Twitter, or in their business. I mean, there was a time when people were calling, up their employers and trying to get them fired, and it was working. So this is a lot of self-censorship, and it creates it just creates a lot of fear.
do,
But
do
go
you
ahead.
think, that people would be more apt to attend if they could be more assured that they weren't going to be associated with one of those groups? Or do you think it might be that they it's not that they don't trust you, it's that they're afraid they don't have all the information and they're afraid of looking stupid? What do you think it is that really drives the lack of involvement?
I think at least in our area, people are they're just asleep and they don't even realize it's happening. And so then when you share it with them, they're shocked. And then once they get past the shock, I think that, I mean, some people obviously start showing up and coming to our meetings, but overall, there is a fear of being retaliated against. And I mean, I'm called a Nazi several times a week, and it's smeared, you're the Moms for Liberty, the entire organization